Cool. We're live. So I've been trying my best to get this thing off the ground, and it hasn't been hasn't been as gone the way that I expected it to. Mostly because, well, I'm shy, and this is different doing it, on YouTube with the camera here, doing my thing, which I usually do on radio. If you guys know me at all, if not, hi, I'm Luke. Today it's the 24 hours before the NFL draft, and a lot of folks are ready for it to get here and get over with. Some folks don't care. Some folks have already checked out on the NFL entirely. Sometimes I'm wondering if I'm there, one foot out the door yet or not. But especially since the whole legalization of gambling and the involvement of Vegas and point spreads, man. I've never been a gambler, but I do feel like it's absolutely had an impact on the quality of the game and some of the things that we see. But we're going to try not to get into that stuff too much today. I'm going to try to be as optimistic as possible. Cowboys do have two first round picks, so that's a perk I think that they could really appreciate a lot. Not a lot of other teams have, although the New York Giants do have that now. They've got an additional top 10 first round pick. A lot of folks think that there's a good chance that John Harbaugh may snatch both of the two prospective players that the Cowboys have, or at least the fans have really been eyeballing. The Cowboys do, like I said, they've got a little bit of draft capital, not a whole lot. They've got the 12th overall pick of the first round, along with the 20th pick in the first round. I think a lot of folks are expecting the Cowboys to look at a cornerback or maybe an edge rusher there at the number 12 spot. But things, can always happen, like they did in the draft when they picked up CeeDee Lamb. If somebody drops to that level, maybe an Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, I could definitely see them going that direction. But most folks believe that those guys I just mentioned will go in the top 7 or 8 picks, which the Cowboys are nowhere near being able to acquire unless they want to give up next year's draft, which I think a lot of folks expect to be much more successful, much more productive as far as talent goes. But yeah, the Cowboys are going to try their best to make an impact with those first 2 round picks. A second rounder or second first round pick, I think a lot of folks are expecting them to use as trade bait or maybe pick up a linebacker or defensive end somewhere around there, especially if someone like a Reuben Bain or someone is to really drop dramatically in the draft. I don't know if he'll drop that far. The Cowboys did recently pick up a third round pick. They were missing after so many of the trades and movements that they did over the last 2 years, picking up some questionable players like quarterback and whatnot. But they traded away Osa Digizua to the 49ers, I think last month, and they got pick 92 there, along with rounds 4 through 7, pick 112, 152, 177, 180, and 218. Of course, having that no second round pick after last year's trade for Quinnen Williams is it's going to sting a bit because some of the guys that I know they're really interested in, like Jacob Rodriguez, are probably going to be available there. Maybe even CJ Allen. I don't see that. I don't see those guys dropping much further. Maybe Rodriguez could drop down to the third round, but you never know what to expect. A lot of folks expected Shadur Sanders to go in the first round last year, and obviously he didn't go till the fifth round, and that caught a lot of people, including myself, off guard. But yeah, hey, by the way, if you guys are new here or you just checked in, you're hanging out with us. My name's Luke. Give me a like. If you're feeling really charitable, subscribe here. This is only the second or third video I've done like this. I think the first one I'm allowed to stay out here for a while at least. We'll see how I feel later on tonight. But back to the football. Who's in and who's out? There's been a lot of movement for the Cowboys already in the offseason. There's some players that we may not see back, and there's some that we're definitely not going to see back anytime soon. Micah Parsons, of course, everyone knows we traded early in the 2025 season after that contract dispute. We've still got the situation with George Pickens looming. I'm sure the Cowboys are going to get something done there. They released Michael Gallup earlier last year. Solomon Thomas has not been retained. It looks like Kevontae Turpin also may not get re-signed, along with Malik Hooker. Logan Wilson was cut for some cap savings, and I think that there's a good possibility that Terrence Steele may be a looming cut to come our way. It depends on who they pick up in the draft or not. I'm really excited about seeing Christian Parker there with the Cowboys. They've already brought in a whole slew of defensive players for him to work with. Rashawn Gary, obviously, a great edge rusher out of Green Bay. We got in a trade. Jalen Thompson, a safety, we picked up for 3 years, $33 million deal out of Arizona. Kobe Durant, another corner defensive back we brought in for a 1 year, $5.5 million deal. And of course, you guys know we've got Javonte Williams, excuse me, here again. We did bring in PJ Locke and Sam Howell along with Jonathan Bullard. So there's some names that you might want to keep your eyes peeled for. I know that Sam Williams got re-signed, but this is supposed to be a defense-heavy draft this year. So hopefully tomorrow the Cowboys get it right. The first thing they've got to fix, I think a lot of folks agree with, is their linebacker situation. Outside of DeMarvion Overshown, there's not really anybody there. It's been a revolving door for years, and there's no true starter heading in. They need that green dot. Kenneth Murray didn't cut it last year, and obviously Logan Wilson didn't either. That's why he's gone. But a lot of folks think that Christian Parker's scheme, that new 3-4 scheme, is going to demand a smart, fast linebacker who can cover. There's a lot of those. There's a few of those available, but it looks like they may go earlier than the Cowboys are able to pick. So they may have to shift to their secondary need, which is in the secondary. With cornerback, they've had an injury-plagued depth chart. Of course, Deron Bland has been rehabbing from foot surgery. They don't know exactly when he's going to be back. A lot of folks are hoping that he's going to be able to make it back before the season starts. That's still up in the air. Siobhan Revelle, last year's rookie, and I think a lot of folks expected there to be a growth period because he'd missed 9 games last year with a torn ACL from his college year, and his last year in college, and from what I understand, it was a pretty devastating injury there. Of course, all ACL injuries are, but I think he's going to be a little stronger this year. They also brought in Kobe Durant, as we mentioned earlier, but they still need a true number 1 cornerback. A lot of folks are thinking that they could look at someone like Jermod McCoy there. I don't know if I would, because another injury deal. You know, the Cowboys definitely are trying to capture this window that they're in right now with Dak Prescott still being in his prime and able to afford some of the players that they have, some of the stars they have. On the pass rush side of things, always looking for edge rushers. That's one of the most valuable positions, it seems, in this year's draft. Ezraku has missed all of the OTAs so far. He had hip surgery, so he's going to be limited early. Rashawn Gary is apparently the new number 1 edge rusher, but he's going to need someone on the other side to balance things out. If Raku gets back in time, fine. If he's healthy, that's a whole nother thing. There's been, for Rashawn Gary, though, there's been a lot of progress and honestly not as much reception as positive reception from the Cowboys fans, because there's so many other holes with him coming here. But you got to remember, the guy had 24 sacks combined over the last 3 seasons. So it's pretty good, just not great. And then the whole George Pickens issue, he's been franchise tagged for, I think, for $27.3 million. He just hasn't signed it yet. So you got to wonder, what's Jerry going to do? Or Catboy Steven, whenever the dust settles. July 15th is the deadline for that long-term deal. So they're not really close. But if they do draft a wide receiver tomorrow, Jerry Jones better have a really good explanation. There's a lot of folks speculating that he could very well do that, as some of these top name receivers, a lot of the experts are making predictions in the mock draft for them to slide down towards the end of the first round because of the prevalence of so many defensive players at the top of the talent pool, which is a little shallow, they say, this year. But for the Cowboys, if you see any of these upcoming names at picks 12 and 20, I would expect the Cowboys to jump on them. Sonny Styles, if he's there at 12, Cowboys could definitely pick him up there. Mansour Delane, I think he's more of a top 20, number 20 pick. Arvell Reese, I don't see how he makes it past number 5, but anything could happen. Some mocks have the Jets taking him at number 2. So, yeah, if he falls further than that, there's a chance the Cowboys could even trade up for somebody like him. I think a lot of folks see some similarities between he and Micah Parsons. Everybody is trying to look to find the new Micah Parsons now, which the Cowboys traded away last year, as we all remember. Colton Hood is a name that's been getting a whole lot of traction. He's the other cornerback from Tennessee, not named Jermod McCoy. Uh, Very serviceable season. ESPN's Todd Archer had him mocked to Dallas at number 12 pick. He visited this facility, so the Cowboys got some familiarity with him. And Parker has history also developing corners there, so that could be something that they could definitely look into. The big man from Auburn at defensive end, Keldrick Falk, has a huge pass upside. He's only 20 years old. Archer mocked him to Dallas at pick number 20. I think if he drops that far, I definitely think that the Cowboys could look at picking him up depending on who they grab at number 12. Superb talent and a large man, which would really fit well with this 3-4 defense. The next guy on our list is Caleb Downs, another player I just don't see slipping all the way to number 12, although there's a lot of folks that believe that the top 10 is just too high for any safety, really. You could say he's undersized, but we watched him play against NFL caliber talent week in and week out at Ohio State. He was the most dominant player on the field, and some folks would say the most talented. Definitely the team leader, somebody that the Cowboys could use in Christian Parker's new offense. I just don't know if the Cowboys are ever going to sniff him at number 12. They're definitely going to have to look at a trade up, I think, if they are interested in young Caleb Downs. Once again, Jermod McCoy from Tennessee. We mentioned him a couple times earlier. He's a real wild card. He would have gone top 10 before tearing his ACL. Now, he just had a great showing at his pro day. I think he ran a 4.340, but that's running straight ahead. When you start doing some lateral movement and going side to side, things change. That's when you really put some strain on those knees. And of course, Dallas does not have a grass field. It's all turf there. So that's definitely something to look at. Here's a hot take, though. If the Jets take Reese at number 2 and Styles goes early, Dallas may be forced to trade up in the top 10. Jerry Jones loves the drama of draft night, so don't be shocked if that happens. I think it's a possibility. I think there's a lot of folks that are going to beg him, please, please, Jerry, don't do that, but we'll see how that goes. I'm curious, what do you guys think? What if the Cowboys trade back both their first-round picks this year? That's a good question, right? What would you do if you were the GM, if you were the owner of the Cowboys and you had your family all involved? Next year is supposed to be a pretty nice draft, pretty good draft. Although they're making movements to try to win this year. Dak Prescott's not getting any younger. He's a great quarterback. They definitely want to take advantage of that. And I know Jerry still has a little salt in the wound as far as not allowing Tony Romo to ever, or helping Tony Romo ever get to a Super Bowl. It'd be nice if they could get to even an NFC championship game. They haven't done that in 30 something years, but we'll see what happens with the Cowboys. It's hard. You used to hear folks talk about the Cubs and the Jets and all these teams with strife, and I grew up hearing about how the Cowboys is America's team, but it doesn't feel like this is the team of America right now. I don't know. Maybe it is fitting given the current time and some of our political climate that we've got going on. Maybe it really is America's team. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with the draft tomorrow. I think there's definitely going to be some big surprises, but I just don't think that the Cowboys are going to do anything too crazy. They're going to be conservative. They got some new coaches. They got new players on the staff. They're filling a lot of promise in. And I think that they probably think they're just a couple players away. They've got 2 first-round picks and that third-round pick. And there's an opportunity, I would say. There's an opportunity for the Cowboys to do something good. They've always had a lot of success in the draft, but it seems like their highest level success have come in those later 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks when they picked up folks like, Dak Prescott. But we'll see what the Cowboys can do this year with 2 first-round picks in first round that a lot of folks feel may be a little light in the talent pool area. A lot of folks suggesting even the number 1 overall projected pick, Fernando Mendoza, wouldn't go in the top 5 of last year's draft because there were just so many apparently better quarterbacks than he is. We'll see. He's going to be with the Raiders, which is another one of those organizations that just has a really tough time with winning. And I think being in Las Vegas could be challenging for anyone. As far as young Fernando goes, I think he's going to have a good time. He seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders. Very well disciplined young man, and he's got a great mentor there already in Kirk Cousins. So it seems like those two guys are kind of two peas in a pod, right? Like they're destined to wind up together somewhere, sometime. They just seem to have a whole lot of the same personality traits, if you will. But anyways, this has been this. I guess this is my second podcast. This is the first one I've done of the Cowboys like this. Tomorrow is the NFL draft. Dak is 33 years old. CD and Pickens are already elite. The offense is there. I don't see them spending a whole lot of energy on draft picks on offense, but if somebody like a Julian Love or Carnell Tate drop to number 12, anything could happen. If Jerry gets them a real linebacker and a lockdown corner tomorrow, the team, I think, can definitely compete in the NFC. If he reaches for a running back or a receiver, well, I'll see you guys back here for the reaction stream. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, until then, I'm Luke. We'll see you guys later.